Hey guys, it's Terry at Vorshlag. It is July 31st, 2019, and this is our first This Week at Vorshlag and our new shop. All right, we're going to do a quick walk around the shop and show you some of the projects we're working on and some of the construction we've done that's complete. I haven't done one of these in the past year where we walk around the shop. I have shot a couple of videos, but I'm not happy with the quality of the video. I'm trying out a new camera today and using real audio, so hopefully this turns out better than some of the other failed attempts I've done in the past few months. So this is a 2010 Mustang that I used to run in the Spec Iron class in NASA, underneath the American Iron category of classes, of 4 classes. It was originally built by Watson Racing, nice cage. It did some nice fab work inside, and built for a class that unfortunately doesn't have any drivers in Texas right now. It had a cool suit, and it had breathers, and it had all the right goodies, and it's just built for a class that just doesn't have any participation. So our customer decided to, instead of racing by himself, he is going to run in the American Iron class. So there's AIX, AI, Spec Iron, and CMC. So those 4 classes, and he's going to go from Spec Iron to American Iron. We've done a Coyote swap because it was a 2010 car. The 05 to 2010 were all that was allowed in Spec Iron. It's a 4.6 3-valve class. They make about 300 horsepower. This is about a 440 horsepower, the Gen 2 Coyote. So Coyote Gen 2 crate motor, American Racing long tube headers, 1 7/8 with a cold air and a tune. It should make 450, 460 wheel. We'll have to tune it down with a electronic throttle restricted tune to make about 370-ish, depending on the final weight of the car. So we've already got the drivetrain in. The wiring harness work is going on. We had to make a lot of brackets to mount the Gen 2 control pack, because really you can only get a wiring harness from Ford at the moment for an ECU, Ford ECU. We've mounted the reservoir, which is normally there. Here, this is a controls pack fuse box, and that's a custom bracket that Brad made today. He made brackets for this. He made bracket for the ECM that's normally a different shape and size. So really coming together well. One of the other cool things that Brad did was we rolled the radiator. So normally it sits straight up and down, and it's way up here, and we've moved it down and underneath the radiator support so it gets air from the lower grill only, and that allows us to block off this upper grill for better drag reduction and make the splitter more effective, because all the air going to the radiator will have to go through this opening. We've already got it ducted on the front end. We'll have a minimalist duct box on the back, but the mounts came out really nice, upper and lower, and we'll have a little waterfall deflector and a vented hood, so that should work really well, have some nice downforce. We'll still be able to use the MCSs that are the current spec. We'll change the camera plates and spring rates and a couple other things. It still uses the same 275 Toyo tire and American Iron. We may upgrade the brakes. It's getting a special axle. It's got a Tremec T56 Magnum XL, so it's got a really cool hardcore drivetrain that really will spruce up this car about 200 horsepower from what it had before. So it should be quite a lot of fun, and with a different tune, 1811 wheels, and Hoosier R7s, and this thing should scoot along pretty well in ST2 class, also within NASA. That just doesn't run under the American Iron umbrella. So this car will be fun in a couple different iterations, and it should be running fairly soon. So you might recognize this one. This is a 69 Camaro. We started a couple years ago. It was already started. We basically took it down to nothing, built a new frame. And 2018 was kind of rough. We moved and we're down for a little bit of time, and one of our fabricators that started working on this car left us, so we hired another guy, and he's really kind of taken over this car and some others. And so we're getting through it, and we've made some big progress lately. We just put a power brake 6-piston C6 front brake, 350 by 34 millimeter, really nice front brake kit that was on another one of our testers, C6 Corvettes he sold. So we just put those on yesterday. The whole front end's been apart, all the final welding's been done, a lot of plumbing, almost all the wiring. We're about to put shocks on, set ride heights, and start doing suspension travel tests. We'll probably have to move this upper mount. Just a bunch of little work, but the fenders are off so we can finish some wiring for, it's got horns and turn signals and lights and a couple of minimalist streetcar things, but make no mistake, it's a race car. We've got the GM computer mounted for the LS3 crate motor. It's got dry sump and all sorts of stuff. Remote reservoir for the pedal box, which is not in the car currently. But a lot of this is done. We've already fired up and tested a lot of systems. We're about to bump over we've actually bumped the motor and the starter, and we got to finish, I think, a fuel pump relay, and it's ready to start. So excited to see this one motivated under its own power here pretty soon. It looks very incomplete, but a lot of parts are done. They're just out of the way so we can do wiring. You may recognize this monster wide body E46 M3 that is powered by a horsepower research 468 cubic inch LS7. It has already been on track. We've already done 2 different dyno tests. This motor is a really mild street motor. Makes 636 wheel horsepower on 93 octane pump gas. So no tricks. It's just 11-to-1 with an MSD intake. There's probably another 30-40 horsepower with a few tweaks, but it's already plenty fast. We did a test day and just doing some initial tuning on some really junky 6-year-old tires from one of my old Mustangs, and the thing was a rocket ship. The best part of the car is these massive 345 Hoosiers on 18x13s. The rear end worked great. We're changing some things on the rear axles. A lot of little tweaks here and there. After this test, we made some heat shields, and we're moving some stuff around to give it more longevity. We're doing a diff cooler, but the core car worked really, really well, sounded really good, was super easy to drive. It was like, oh my God, it's got to be hard to drive. The traction control wasn't even turned on, and it was a dream to drive. So a lot of fun there. All right, our 2018 Mustang, our S550, we bought this car February of 18, and it's coming up on about 2 years old, which is when we tend to move on our development mules like this. We've done a lot of work on this car. We've tested 2 brake systems, 4 shock systems, 3 different sets of wheels, multiple seats. We've developed a seat mounting kit, fire extinguisher kit, a 4-point roll bar. We've done exhausts and headers and tested carbon fiber bodywork, and we've tested like 4 iterations of brake cooling. So we haven't released all of these things, but we've already released a lot. Like our tow hooks are really popular. There's some more iterations we need to make. Really happy with the Gen 3 Coyote. Makes 485 wheel horsepower SAE, but unfortunately we've been stuck between 2 different classes. We started off and it made about 416 wheel horsepower and weighed about 3,800 pounds, which was right at the very bleeding edge of the NASA TT3 class. Well, we added power and we removed some weight. We weren't very competitive in 3 because we're on a relatively small 315 millimeter tire for this weight car that's not very big, and we had no aero, so we weren't very competitive in a competitive class, TT3 last year. This year we added power, removed some weight, and we're 350 pounds heavy for TT2 class. That's our minimum weight we're allowed to make, and that's the average power we're making right now, and we're really about 300 pounds heavier than that. So that means we're extremely uncompetitive in TT2, but I'm not giving that power back, and we don't really want to gut the car and pull out all the heavy, doors and windows and interior bits and pieces to get the weight out. So we've got about 4 more events this year we're going to do in this car, and then next year we won't be racing this car anymore. But we might take some of the parts that we're going to pull off of this car and put it back to kind of stockish form. We might put those on another car. So stay tuned for more news from Vorshlag very soon about our 2020 race plans. Okay, this doesn't look like much. This is our E46 Vorshlag team endurance race build. We've had this for about 3 months. We've been doing some work. We work 1 night a week, and everybody in the shop works on it. We've developed some new parts on this car, which we'll be releasing as soon as we test them, like this big brake kit. We've Got a potentially electric steering option that we might offer for an E46 that we're about to test later this week. We've come up with 2 different ways to remove the sound deadening, the tar paper from this car. We did it the hard way and then the better way. And you'll notice some parts from previous cars that we've built. And we're exploring different engine options. But check out the Vorshlag forums, which is back up and running, and we can show the last 2 updates we've done since April, and it kind of shows step by step, and we have some tech tips on how to fix your strut towers and a few other things. So check that out. Quick update on our FRS, Amy's car. We have a new bumper beam we're about to build with some equipment that's on the way, a new carbon front end. The pre-production headers are done. They're at the production manufacturer getting scanned tomorrow. So look for more updates on our V8 swap shop car for Miss Amy. So this is our big messy CNC room. It's about twice as big as our old shop, and we've added some capability to our CNC lathe and CNC mill. We now have a CNC plasma table. Good golly, Miss Molly, I wish I would have bought this years ago. This thing is awesome, and we use it for a lot of things now, and it's given us a lot of capabilities. Super excited. We use this every single day. I'm not going to show much of the lobby because it's still under construction. We have a lot of camber plate parts we're stocking now, more than ever, and a lot of our LS swap parts we're stocking now. All of these bits and pieces were made with our CNC plasma table back there, and they go together better and more precisely than before. We've gone from big tubular pieces to slotted and keyed plate weldments, and they're lighter and stronger and have more exhaust clearance and use a better bushing. So really excited about showing this stuff off. And this is one of our more popular products we added. We had one of these we made by hand. We usually cut strut towers in different cars. Now we make them for I think 4 different cars, and we sell them like hotcakes. There's shops that buy one of everything we make, and they're really slick and expensive. I think we charge like $60, but very popular. But again, July 31st, 2019, our first This Week at Vorshlag video at our new shop at an undisclosed location. Thanks for tuning in.